Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, we're going to show you how to animate a neon subscribe button that you can use in your own videos. This will be done in Adobe Illustrator and Adobe After Effects. So let's go ahead and get started. To begin, you'll want to open up Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to use dimensions of 1920 by 1080, as you can see here. RGB color, screen resolution is 72. Let's go ahead and hit create. From here, we'll add a dark background. So I will make sure I'm on layer 1. I'll just click on the canvas, type in 1920 by 1080, if I can do that right. And then I will center align and then change the color to something dark. And then I'll remove that stroke. There we go. And then let's label this background. Add a new layer. I'm going to lock this one. And then from here, we're going to select the square tool or the rectangle tool, and then click and drag a rectangle onto the screen. We're going to switch over to stroke and then change the stroke to white. And then we're going to add a stroke thickness of 10 points. And then from here, we will select all these corners using our direct selection tool. And then we're going to round out these corners to look something kind of like that. Just one nice even number. And then from here, we're going to add our text. So we'll call this one neon rectangle. And then we'll add our text on a new layer. So then I'll come over to my type tool and click and drag out text body and then type in subscribe. Then I'm going to increase this font size to something really large. And I think in my previous test, it was up to like 175. Then you're going to want to use a font that has a neon feel to it. And Adobe offers a free neon font called HT Neon. I also have a couple other neon fonts as well, but these require additional licensing, so you might have to pay for these. So I wanted to provide a free option for you to go with. So from here, we're just going to change that color. And let's make it the fill and remove that stroke. And then we'll bring up these guides and center this. And then let's increase this font size to 200. And I think that looks pretty good. And we're going to reduce our neon rectangle just a little bit, just because it feels a little big. We'll tighten it up. And I'm liking that. I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to select both of these. Actually, I'm going to select that and tighten that shape up a little bit. Select both and then align them in the center. I actually want it to be on the canvas. There we go. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is just tweak the look and the appearance of this outer rectangle to have more of a neon feel. So I'm going to go to my pen tool and I'm on caps lock, and I'm going to add a anchor point right here and then another anchor point right here. Then I'm going to go to my direct selection tool, select this one anchor point in the middle, and then press delete. Then I'll go to my selection tool, the V key, and I'm going to change this to a weight of 10 and then go to caps. So you'll pull up your strokes properties and then go to cap and do a rounded cap. So now this has more of a neon sign feel. I'm going to grab that one anchor point right here and just nudge it downwards just a little bit. And then let's go ahead and label our layers. And I think that is it in terms of getting this set up in Illustrator. So now all we need to do is save this. So let's go ahead and go save as. And I'm going to call this neon subscribe 2. I've already done this, testing it out, so I have one already in there. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and jump over to After Effects. All right, now that we're in After Effects, we need to set up our composition. So go to New Composition, and then you can select the preset, Social Media Landscape, HD 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames per second, or you can just manually enter those values here. And let's make your duration 10 seconds. I think that'll be a good start. And then once you have that, go ahead and hit OK. The next thing we'll do is we're going to import our Illustrator file. So I'll double click here in the project panel. I'll select Neon Subscribe 2, which is the one that we just created. We're going to change this from footage to composition, retain layer size, and select import. From here, you can just go ahead and double click on that Neon Subscribe. And we're actually not going to use this comp 1 that we had initially set up. Basically, all we did that for was to pretty much set the parameters of our composition. So as soon as you import this subscribe animation, it will now inherit all the settings that we did for this comp 1. So the duration's 10 seconds, it's 30 frames per second, and it has the dimensions that we need. Okay, so now from here, what we need to do is actually add a different, or actually we're going to be adding the text again, so that we can have a little bit more additional like a neon effect that we're just not able to quite achieve with the text in its current format. So what we're going to do is we'll just lock down these layers, and I'm going to go to the type tool, and I'm going to click and drag a text box that's about that size on the inside and type in subscribe. Then I'll go to my text here and scale this up. And what we're trying to do is basically just have this fit directly over our previous text that we created. And then what we can do is once it matches up, we can hide that initial one. And then we need to center our anchor point. So I'll right click on it, and on the text layer, go to transform and center anchor point to in layer content. Hotkey for that on a PC is Control Alt and Home. And then what we want to do is realign this to the center. So I'll go to my alignment panel and align that in the center. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is start adding our glow on top of this. So let's go ahead and we'll just add our glow to this subscribe text. To do that, you'll want to look for your effects panel, and you're going to type in drop shadow. And we're looking for perspective, and drop shadow effect right here, and then go ahead and click and drag that onto the text. From here, the direction won't matter, so it can really be any direction, but I'm just going to turn it to 0. And then we want to change our color. I'm going to go to bright, like YouTube red. Distance, we'll actually move this in a direction, and we don't want it to go in a direction. We want it to stay directly underneath. So we'll make sure that that's set to 0. And then softness, we're going to change this to 25. And then to get this to really get this neon glow effect, we're going to be duplicating this, and by duplicating this effect, it's going to amplify the neon lighting effect. So select this drop shadow effect that we created, and then press Ctrl D to add another one, and then we're going to amplify this by changing the softness to a higher value. So I'll go to 100, and then we're going to do this again. I'm going to change this to 400, and I'll do it one more time, and this time we're going to go to a lower value, and this will kind of just crunch and tighten up the glow. So maybe something like that, and you can go even tighter if you want. And now we have our glow. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select all of these. I'm going to press Ctrl C to copy them. Then I'm going to unlock my neon rectangle, select the neon rectangle, and then press Ctrl V. And that will paste that neon effect that we had applied to the text onto the rectangle. So we're getting close. Now what we need to do is just kind of animate the flicker on. Okay, so we'll start with this neon rectangle. I'm going to press T on my keyboard to bring up the opacity keys, and I'm going to lower the opacity to 0 because we want this to start in the off state. So I'll hit the stopwatch here at 0. I'm going to press my page down button to move forward 3 keys. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to increase this value to 100 so it just immediately flashes on, flickers on. And then I'm going to move forward in time 3 keys and return it to a value of 0. And then I'm going to continue this process. So I'll move forward 3 keys. And from here I will go to, let's say, 50. Then I'll move forward 3 keys and then have it reduced back to 25. So it's kind of flickering. It has a moment of going to a high value and then dropping down, and then going up to a high value and then dropping down. So now 1, 2, 3 again. We'll go to 75. 1, 2, 3. Drop down again, maybe to 60. And then 1, 2, 3. And we'll go to 100. All right. Next thing, let's play that. That looks pretty good, but we can make it a little nicer by adding some easing. So I'll select all these keys. You can press F9 to add easy ease. Oops. Or you can right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And now let's take a look at that. And that looks pretty good. If you want it to be a little bit of a slower warm up of the light, you could extend this last key a little bit. So it's kind of getting its full energy and just kind of charging up, something like that. All right, next thing is I'm going to select all of these keys and copy them, Control C, and go to the subscribe text that we added and paste these keys onto that. Now I'm going to press T to reveal them. I should have probably revealed it first. And now let's press spacebar to see how that looks. That looks pretty good. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just actually shift these this layer over just a little bit, just so that there's a little bit of variety and differentiation between the text and the rectangle. And the other thing you can do is you could select all these keys, and if you hold in Alt and just kind of squeeze these together, that'll kind of change up the timing just so they're a little bit more different. There we go. That looks good. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the text layer, and we're going to add a little bit of some more variation to this text. So we're going to go to Animate and then down to Add Text Selector and select Wiggly. And then we're going to open this up, and then we're going to come and with the Wiggly selector selected, come to Add, Properties, and we are looking for Opacity. It will now add an opacity property here, and we're just going to reduce this to 60. And we want it to be set to characters. If you had multiple words, then you might want to do words here. But for this particular instance, we're just going to do characters. And we're going to lower this to opacity, or lower the opacity to 60. And what this is going to do is it's going to give each letter or each character its own kind of flicker, just to give it a little bit more of a realistic look. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to slow down this wiggle and just change this to 1. And you could experiment with that and see how it looks. So now you'll see that each of these letters, as I kind of slowly scrub, they have their own kind of fluctuation in their light. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so now you'll see that the outside rectangle is pretty steady the entire time, while this one kind of flickers a little bit on the inside. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of that same kind of appearance to this rectangle on the outside. So what we're going to do is go to our effects panel and type in exposure. And then we're going to select our exposure. And I'm going to apply that to the neon rectangle. And then we're going to open this up, go all the way to exposure, master, and then holding Alt, click on exposure, stopwatch, and then type in wiggle. And then for our values here, we will do a 0.5 by 3. And then let's take a look at that. Now, actually, I think I got my values wrong. Let's come back down here, and we're actually going to be setting this to 3 and this one to 0.5. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is have this animate off. So it'll blink on and then blink off. So that's pretty simple. I'm just going to select the subscribe text up here, press U. I'm going to select these keys and copy them, Control C. And then I'll have this animation last about a duration of 5 seconds. So I'll put my cursor about right here and paste those keys. And then I will right click on these keys and go to Keyframe Assistant Time Reverse. And then I'm going to move my playhead to 5 seconds, and then move these keys so that they end directly at 5 seconds. Now with these new keys, I'm going to copy them, go to my neon rectangle, I'll press U, and I'm going to come back and paste those here. And just like before, I'm going to add a little bit of variation. So maybe I'll just scoot these ahead and then hold in Alt, just kind of squeeze them together. And now they'll flicker out. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to trim my work area by pressing N, coming to the beginning, and I'll press spacebar. And there we have it. One last thing I might do is just apply that same exposure to the subscribe text. So I'll paste that here, and I'll just kind of add another layer of effects to it to make it more realistic. And that's pretty much it. The next thing would be to render this out. If you want to render this and add it as an animation overlay, what you'll want to do is actually hide your background layer and then turn on this transparency just to ensure that you have a transparent background. And then follow my tutorial on how to render out transparent videos in After Effects so that you can then apply it over your video footage in Adobe Premiere. And you can just check out that tutorial right here in the corner. And I think that is basically it. If you don't want to go through the process of making this on your own, you can download a free animated overlay using the link in the description below. If you're wanting to customize the colors and having a little bit more flexibility with this, I have a MOGRT file that's for purchase just for the price of a cup of coffee. Check out the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and until next time, keep on creating.